What's going on, everybody? Scott Bogman here for BettingPros to tell you my favorite picks and props for the semifinals of the college football playoff. If you want to tail my bets, I can be tailed on the BettingPros app or bettingpros.com/Bogman. If we take a look back to last week, I was 2-1 on the picks. We got Penn State. We got the under in the Notre Dame game, but obviously I was surprised by ASU's performance against my Longhorns. Did not get that one. I had the team total under 19.5, but they forced overtime in that game. The touchdowns, not so great. I got the Tyler Warren one, which was an easy, not a gimme. He scored 2 touchdowns, but the odds weren't great. The other ones, Guillory didn't score, Judkinson score for Ohio State, and the Penn State defense obviously did not get in the end zone either. 4-3 on the props. So decent there. This week we only have 2 games. So I'm going to give you my only pick that I like between these 2 games, and that is going to be the under 44.5 in the Penn State and Notre Dame game. These teams both play great defense. They're both run-first teams, and they both might be missing some pieces here. Abdul Carter is a big question mark for Penn State. He is their best player overall. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft in 2025. He has an arm injury. His legs will not be affected, so I think he's going to play, but he's questionable, and, what level is he going to play? But bigger for scoring in this game is Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame, who is probably going to be near the top of Heisman list going into next season. Very explosive playmaker. He is going to play in this game, but he's been in a knee brace the entire week. His knee is clearly bothering him. So I question whether, first of all, will he make it through this game, right? He's going to play. He's probable. But is he going to have that same explosiveness? Is he going to last the whole game? I think that's a huge question. He is part of the 3-headed monster at Notre Dame between himself, Jadarian Price, and, of course, Riley Leonard, the quarterback, in that running attack for them. Notre Dame does not like to pass the ball, right? They want to run first. They want to run heavy. They want to get behind that offensive line and push, and that's what they've done in the first 2 games. Penn State, incredibly tough defense, easily the toughest defense at Notre Dame. Well, Georgia was really tough last week too. They just didn't have the offense to pull it off. So I guess I shouldn't say the easily the toughest. Georgia's defense is very, very good as well, but they were clearly one-dimensional on offense and had issues. So Notre Dame didn't really push them around, but they did enough to win. In this game, Drew Aller is, he has been good. He's made some big throws in the playoff here, but he's still only, I believe, 26 for 47. His completion percentage in the playoff is right over 55%, which, if you look over the entire course of the season among qualified quarterbacks, there's 94. That would put him at 90th, that completion percentage. So you're in the tournament, your completion percentage doesn't matter. The wins matter. But in terms of scoring, I think Notre Dame's going to be able to slow down Penn State. I think missing your biggest playmaker in Jeremiah Love for Notre Dame is just maybe too much of a loss to overcome in terms of putting a bunch of points on the board or running away with this game. The spread is 1.5. It's very, very coin flippy game here. I just don't really like picking a side. If I had to pick one, it's going to be Penn State. I think they're a little more well-rounded. I think if they get down, I think Drew Aller can play catch up and get them back in the game. I don't know that Riley Leonard can do that. So I do think for Notre Dame to win, and they're favored, and they've been strong. But for them to win, they're going to have to control the clock, control the ball, and I'm just not 100% confident that they'll be able to do that against Penn State. So I lean towards Penn State, but my favorite pick is the under in that game. Just to go through the Cotton Bowl here, Ohio State and Texas. Ohio State is favored by 6. The total is 53.5. And we mentioned it, Terrell, Seth, and I. When Ohio State plays their best game, nobody can beat them. And they have played well the last 2 weeks in a row. They look very, very strong. It's hard to pick against them. I see a lot of experts, pundits, whatever you want to call us, taking Texas in the points because they think this is going to be closer. This is, a very, very strong defense from the Longhorns that is going to be imposing their will on Ohio State. But Jeremiah Smith looks fairly unstoppable right now, and they have the two-headed monster running back. We just saw Arizona State control time of possession against Texas, right? So, it may be Texas defense was gassed and tired. That's when they started giving up points late in the game last week. So the offense is going to need to hold the ball. So I don't have a good feel one way or the other. My favorite lean in that game is towards the under 53.5, just because these are two of the best red zone defenses in the country. I think they are second and third. Just two really good defenses overall. Texas matches up well defensively against the Ohio State offense, but it's football, and in football the rules are slanted towards the offense always, and their offense seems fairly unstoppable. Will Howard will have to make mistakes, which he's capable of. We've seen Ohio State beat Jekyll and Hyde this season. We've seen a little bit of that from Texas as well. So I just don't, if Quinn Ewers plays like he did in the fourth quarter and overtime, then Texas is going to win this game. But if he plays like he did in the middle of that game with the turnovers and the incompletions, Ohio State wins running away. So I have a really good feel for the Cotton Bowl, the under in the Orange Bowl of 44.5 is going to be my one pick. Let's go to some touchdown calls, but before I do that, let me just remind you guys, if you are looking to up your game in sports betting, join our exclusive sports betting Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. Not only can you connect with expert handicappers who provide free picks for the NBA, NFL, MLB, college sports, player props, live betting, and more, but now you can also participate in our weekly community picks, cast your vote, and see how your picks stack up against the experts and track your success. All right, so only two games. I'm going to kind of spray the touchdown calls here, right? I think your best shots in the Orange Bowl, Leonard is minus 115. He's going to get a lot of rushing attempts because Jeremiah Love's probably going to be fairly limited. We saw Tyler Warren score 2 last week. He's minus 120. And any of the running backs here, Singleton, Jadarian Price, Katron Allen, they're all at plus 100. I think they're all pretty safe. My shot that I'll take in this game is Jordan Faison, plus 310. He only has one touchdown this season, which is why this number is good, and you're tripling up your money here. But he's had 11 catches in his last 2 games. He has 26 catches on the season, so only 17 going to the tournament, and they just made him a more consistent target. I think he's going to get some short passes. I'm going to pick him to go over his receiving prop as well, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I really do like what Jordan Faison has done in the tournament here. So on the Cotton Bowl, some of these touchdown calls, like the numbers you're getting are just bad. Jeremiah Smith is like minus 195, not very good. So a couple of the easy ones, Emeka Egbuka, minus 115, Matthew Golden, for Texas is plus 125. Those are fairly easy ones, along with, the other ones that I mentioned. So if you're like on Underdog, you're on Prize Picks or something, you're pairing those. Those are pretty easy. But if you're playing for cash and you're looking to double up your money, Gunnar Helm, plus 195. Deandre Moore, plus 390. The tight end for Texas, a wide receiver for Texas. Gunnar Helm, we saw score in overtime last week. He's a dangerous red zone threat. I think he can easily catch a touchdown in this game. Deandre Moore, I like at plus 350 because I believe he's going to be on the field a little bit more. Isaiah Bond cannot block to save his life. He's also playing at less than 100%. So I think Moore has a shot to get in the end zone here just because he's going to see more time. And plus 350 is a number I like. For Ohio State, the running backs jacked up. Jeremiah Smith jacked up, right? So we're going to go with a couple receiving options outside of Egbuka. Carnell Tate is plus 250. The wide receiver hasn't had a lot of work in the tournament, but they haven't needed to pass the ball a ton, especially late. If this game is more competitive, as I kind of think it's going to be than their first 2 games, then he is going to see a decent amount of targets. G. Scott, the tight end, is plus 320. Not a lot of action for him, but Texas has been pretty bad against the tight end all year long. Let's go to some of these props. Not a ton. The passing ones I just don't like. I don't like because we have 4 strong defenses here. I'll go with Quinn Ewers over 244.5 because Texas has the longest odds of any of these teams here. They're +6, so they should be playing from behind, passing the ball a little bit, and 244.5 is a low total for even against a really, really good defense, because they should be playing from behind. And if they shut down the running game, Quinn Ewers is going to have to make it happen. So 244.5, I think, is a doable number. I didn't like the other ones for the other three quarterbacks. Rushing totals, I'm going to spray 4 here. We're going to go Nick Singleton, Penn State running back, over 58.5. He's hit this 5 games in a row. He has a long of at least 15 in all 5 of those games. So 12 carries for Singleton, and I think he gets over this, and I think that is very doable. We're going to go to Jadarian Price, Notre Dame running back, over 44.5. It's a low total. Again, these are very good defenses, so these totals are low. But with Love at less than 100%, he might see a season high in carries, which 12 has been the most he's had this season. I think maybe Riley Leonard, too. The reason I don't like the Riley Leonard total is because sack yards count against the quarterbacks in college. So if Penn State does get up, it could be something like, Riley Leonard has broken off a big one, already has some, but he gets sacked 2 times, and now he loses those rushing yards. So I'm going to pass on Riley Leonard in this game. But in the Cotton Bowl, Quintrevion Wisner, I'm going to go right back to it, 57.5 yards. Didn't get it last week, but he's still getting a lot of carries. Cameron Williams, the right tackle, was out. I think he's likely to play in this game. He's been practicing a bunch. Much better run blocker than Gooseby. Kelvin Banks is going to play as well. Time of possession was just firmly in ASU's hands last week, and Wisner just didn't get the ball. So I think they'll try to even that out this week, and he'll get it. On the Ohio State side, I think TreVeyon Henderson's total of 45.5 rushing yards is way too low. Texas couldn't stop Cam Scatterbo last week, and time of possession was in ASU's favor. If it goes to Ohio State, they're going to run the ball a decent amount. So 45.5 rushing yards, I think that prop is too low. I have 5 receiving props for you as well. So we're doing way more on the props than on the picks. I wanted to give you a little more since I only had the 1 pick here. So on these props, we're going over on Faison. We talked about that already. 38.5 yards is his. He's had a ton of targets and 11 catches over the last 2 games. They probably have some designed short yardage passes for him to try to pull those corners and safeties back a little bit, specifically early in the game, to loosen up things for the run game. So I like that total for him. Mitchell Evans, the Notre Dame tight end, it's the same type of strategy here, right? The fact is that Riley Leonard is probably going to be spied. Kobe King is probably going to be looking at him a lot. We've seen their safeties drop down in the box a lot to stop the run. So Mitchell Evans could have a clear lane, and his total is 27.5 yards. I mean, he could get that on 2 to 3 catches. So I think that one is another good one. For the Cotton Bowl, I'm going to go with 2 Buckeyes on low totals. Carnell Tate, who we mentioned before, for a touchdown, 34.5 receiving yards. They didn't really need him in the game against Tennessee or Oregon here in the playoff, and Jedi Barron is going to be on Jeremiah Smith, hopefully slowing him down for my sake, but who knows if anybody can slow down Jeremiah Smith. But if they do roll coverage that way and things aren't happening, I think Egbuka, I think Tate, I think G. Scott, I think the running backs, they're all going to be in line for more targets and catches. So I really like that one at 34.5 yards. I think that's very, very doable for Carnell Tate. G. Scott's total is 14.5 for Ohio State, the tight end. That's a catch. That's 1 catch, maybe 2. So I believe his prop is over 1.5. Again, if this game is a little more back and forth than the other 2 games that Ohio State has been playing, they will have to pass the ball more, and these guys will open up. And the last one I have for you is Ryan Wingo, the Texas wide receiver, over 23.5 receiving yards. He usually makes big plays, and he's going to be on the field a ton in this game because he blocks better than any other Texas wide receiver. So those are my picks and props for the semifinals. Good luck to all of you. Remember to tail me on BettingPros, and I will see you for the Natty next week. Good luck, everybody.